Welcome back. Today, we're looking at one of the absolute most fascinating tactical revivals in modern football. We're going to break down Diego Simeone's legendary transformation of Atletico Madrid, and we're going all the way from his overarching macro philosophy right down to the incredibly specific training session drill designs that made his 4-4-2 system practically impenetrable. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is a quick look at our syllabus for today's explainer. Reviving the classic 4-4-2, the crucial central area, drilling the front block, closing passing lanes, and finally, limiting space.
Section 1. Reviving the classic 4-4-2, the Simeone revolution.
For years, the traditional 4-4-2 was heavily criticized. People thought it was just outdated, rigid, totally past its expiration date. And when Diego Simeone took over an ailing Atletico in late 2011, they were practically in a relegation battle. They had scraped together a miserable 19 points in 16 games. But by completely reimagining this supposedly flawed formation, he sparked an immediate, dramatic turnaround. They racked up 37 points in the very next 22 games. So, you might be wondering, how exactly did he pull that off? Well, the old-school English 4-4-2 had a glaring flaw. It was really easy to isolate on the wings and highly vulnerable in the center because it essentially abandoned the number 10 space. But Simeone completely neutralized those issues. Instead of having his players hug the touchlines, he used indented wingers, guys like Koke and Arda Turan, who pinched right inside into the half spaces. The formation essentially morphed into a flexible 4-2-2-2 hybrid, and the result? Total central dominance. This brilliant tactical discovery actually perfectly mirrors a chess strategy from Aaron Nimzowitsch, known as the hypermodern school. The whole idea is to exert control over the center of the board from a distance, right? Without necessarily clogging it up with physical pieces. Simeone applies this exact concept to football. By using wide players who pinch inward, his team exerts this massive, suffocating influence over the center of the pitch from slightly offset positions. And as we're going to see, this concept of remote central control is the very foundation of their training session drill design. Moving on to Section 2, the crucial central area, defining the battleground. If you really want to understand the genius behind Simeone's drill designs, you first have to understand the specific plot of grass he is absolutely obsessed with protecting. Tactical manuals refer to this as the crucial central area. It's that vital pocket of space tucked right between the midfield and the defensive line, the rear block. Grasping this concept is absolutely paramount for our explainer today. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate nightmare scenario. Imagine an opposing number 8 suddenly finding space and time right there in that crucial central area. From that spot, he can so easily execute a lethal through pass right behind the defense to his forward. This exact terrifying situation is what Simeone's meticulously structured system is built to prevent from ever happening. Section 3. Drilling the front block, from philosophy to practice. To ensure that nightmare scenario stays a nightmare and never becomes reality, we have to pivot from the overarching macro theory into granular training methodologies. The sheer variety of functional practices in Simeone's coaching manual is just staggering. The front block, meaning the forwards and the midfielders, is relentlessly drilled through conditioned games. They are entirely focused on controlling defensive gaps, reacting to wide play, and executing negative transitions. It's an absolute masterclass in highly specific drill design where every single player acts on pre-programmed triggers. Within this massive defensive repertoire, the front block relentlessly practices two primary aims to ensure they are always shifting in perfect harmony. Step 1, narrow the passing lanes to prevent through passes entirely. Step 2, limit the available space between the forward and midfield lines, suffocating anyone who even tries to operate there. Which brings us to Section 4, closing the passing lanes, the first aim. This first aim is all about maintaining meticulous horizontal compactness and keeping a very specific safety distance from the player in possession. In a typical drill scenario, watch how a forward, like Fernando Torres, executes this dynamic balancing act. While his strike partner presses the man on the ball, Torres doesn't just spectate. His movement is designed to actively control the opposite center back. This specific drill constraint limits the opponent's available space and actually forces a riskier, much longer pass, which buys the midfield precious time. Now, what's really interesting here is that the true genius of this drill design reveals itself once that pass is forced wide. Look at central midfielder Gabi. As the front block shifts horizontally toward the ball, he acts on a highly specific trigger, moving precisely to just completely strangle the passing lane. Because of this heavily calculated positioning, any forward pass into the danger zone of the crucial central area is completely blocked off.
Section 5. Limiting between the lines space, the second aim.
But, football is chaotic. What if the primary fail-safes break? If the opposition actually manages to sneak a pass through, and a midfielder receives and turns in that central space? Well, the defensive distance is completely compromised. The attacker is now facing the rear block with zero pressure on him, making it incredibly easy to just slip a final pass in behind the defense. It is an extremely dangerous problem, and it requires an immediate, totally rehearsed solution. So the crucial point is that this is exactly where the secondary drill trigger activates. To instantly limit this space, the central midfielder, Gabi, acts almost like a swinging midfield libero. He completely abandons his horizontal line. He steps out aggressively to push forward and instantly pressure the receiver. This heavily drilled, aggressive reorientation prevents the opponent from turning or picking out that deadly final pass. When you combine all of these highly rehearsed elements, the indented wingers dominating the half spaces, the dynamic forwards expertly dictating the center backs, and that swinging midfield libero stepping out to crush anyone between the lines, you get what we can call the stranglehold effect. It is a meticulously drilled, highly aggressive defensive machine born entirely out of brilliant training session designs, capable of neutralizing the absolute best attacking units in world football. Which leaves us with this final thought for today's explainer. As attacking tactics continually evolve and adapt, can Simeone's ultra-compact, heavily drilled 4-4-2 defensive machine ever truly become outdated? Or is the perfect mastery of spatial control and disciplined organization simply timeless? It's definitely something to think about the next time you watch them play. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep learning.